which is a belonging outside belonging game about dogs who wake up one day to find their humans gone. We are in the last session. The dogs are preparing for potentially a attack from the cats who want to take over their den in the rec center at the vacation area where they have made their home. Let's do some quick character intros and then we will get started. I have set up safety tools, which we went over in the first session. Those safety tools are open table. You can walk away at any time. Lines and veils. We've got lines and veils in our character keeper and X guard. We've maintained a pretty good PG rating, I think, throughout. So that's great. David, do you want to go first, introducing us to Oatmeal?
Yeah, so I am playing Oatmeal, the scrappy and slightly anxious Italian greyhound. He's been through it. I don't even know where to start with him. I mean, everyone in this game has been through it, and that includes Oatmeal. When last we left him, he had been terrorized by a large mountain lion who had, in so many words, declared war on the pack they intend to move in, they being the mountain lion and all of her cats. They intend to move in, take the rec center from us, and it's an all-out declaration of war. And like many dogs, Oatmeal just doesn't do well with war. So that's kind of where I'm stuck right now.
Thank you. I'll do Scallop next. Scallop is a mutt. She is the stray playbook. Seems like she spent most of her life here in the beach area and is, for some reason, the font of wisdom for the pack. And last time got stranded on a boat and was rescued by her brethren. And I think we discovered that she and the leader of the cat pack have a history together. And maybe today we will find out what that history is. Jane, you want to tell us about Davy?
I'm playing Davy, who is a thoroughly enthusiastic hound dog, still a little bit on the young side. I'm going to admit I can't quite remember where we left. It's been a whole week. But I think that I will probably be it's going to take me a minute to warm up today. I can tell my brain is like, but all smiles is Davy. So.
Yeah, my notes from last time are atrocious, and I'm embarrassed by them. But we were all really into it. So, and unfortunately, we don't have our fourth today. Sparky, the safety dog, I think must be off doing other things today. So, David, maybe I can put you on the spot. What are some scenes that you can imagine that we can use to maybe wrap things up a little bit?
I would like to have Oatmeal's relationship with Marmalade clearly defined by the end of this. It's been a real kind of a back and forth as to whether or not they're on the same side, and I would like to either know, are we going to live peacefully, or is Marmalade going to have to be thrown into a puddle of water? Right, those are it can only end one of two ways here. It's like Batman and the Joker. So I need to figure out what's going on between Oatmeal and Marmalade. Those are the only Oatmeal. That's like the only Oatmeal specific thing that I can think of. Otherwise, it's just going to be figuring out if we successfully chase off the Queen of the Cats, and if so, how.
Anything else that you want to see with any of the other characters?
I want to get Scallop's backstory really closely defined. The thing that I like a lot from the last session is the way that you made it personal between Scallop and I don't think we have a name for this mountain lion, but the queen.
I think her name is Queen. That's where.
Okay. Yeah, so I like that there's like a personal relationship between Scallop and Queen, and I would just like to know more about it. Like, it doesn't even have to be connected to the resolution of the story. I just want to know what their story is. So that's one other thing that comes to mind for me.
That is totally fair. Yeah, that would be interesting. Jane, can I put you on the spot? Anything
You know, I'm going to say a heretical thing, which is that I am less invested in my player character than I am in Queen, the the Puma. So Davy will run around like a fool and wag his tail and be excited about whatever we get into. But I'm honestly most excited about the cat colony and seeing them get their comeuppance or get the better of the dogs.
Yes. For those who are just joining us, I posted a game about dogs and got 3 cat people to sign up for it. So here we are. And I think I would really like, I'm not so interested in, I don't know that I'm completely interested in like the cat battle or war or whatever, or the cat's declaration of wanting to take over the rec center, as I am this kind of treaty with the gulls, the seagulls, and like how that, I'm kind of more interested in the diplomacy side of things and how the dogs and the gulls kind of come to an agreement and where that sort of like where that ends up, I guess. Does that sound even remotely interesting to you all?
I would love to play a game of dog dash seagull politics.
They're not
I
so
mean, I really just love the idea that the prime reason that the 2 reasons the cats want the rec center is that 1, it's drier, and 2, then they can eat the seagulls. Like, it's definitely, that seems like the impetus for this.
source of food. Any other kind of loose ends or anything else that Jane, you're interested in looking through or talking through?
Sorry, give me a minute. I'm having some volume issues.
Oh, okay. I wonder if we can also, as I look through this set of NPCs, if we can give Droopy a nice little send off or scene or something. He's been sort of the butt of all of our jokes. So. How's the volume, Jane? Still working on it.
Sorry, our dishwasher is insanely loud and I just needed to stop it. I couldn't hear anything.
Was there anything else, Jane, that you wanted to talk through today or play out today?
I think I'll discover some things as we play. As I said, it's been a strenuous. My work is ramping up, so it's just going to take me a while to get my brain chugging along here.
No worries, no worries. I'm surprised I am putting sentences together. So, I would also like to maybe, and we've been doing this all along, but sort of get kind of a final round of feedback on the game. I've really, really, really enjoyed our sessions, and I'm really, really grateful for all of your input and insights, and I can't wait to play it again. I put another round in December. So if you want to continue, you can sign up in December, but I will most definitely be making updates and tweaks to this based on the conversations that we've had. So maybe we can take 15 minutes or so at the end to do a final round of feedback. So I wonder where we should start. Jane, do you have any preferences as to where we start today?
do we want to write in Sparky's disappearance as like a plot point?
Oh, that's
Isn't one of the moves from a neighboring enclave to kidnap to capture one of the dogs?
I think you're right. Is that the cats or is that the gulls?
Or the dolphins? Because we have the dolphins
The
too.
dolphins, right. Yes. The dolphin collective, the seagull bureaucracy, and the feline queendom.
Well, the feline queendom is the most obvious,
Right.
but I almost don't want to do it for that reason.
Right. I like the idea of Sparky going off to the dolphins.
I kind of like that too.
There is the one dolphin who like wanted to be friends.
Carl.
I remember. Was it Carl the dolphin?
There was I've captured them as the lecturing dolphin, the surly dolphin,
And then there was a baby dolphin.
and a baby dolphin who I named Aristophanes.
Okay.
And I was really proud of this particular picture of a dolphin because it's hard to find a surly looking dolphin. But look at that. That is a surly looking dolphin. So why does Sparky go with the dolphins? Is he on the sandbar? Tossing them food? Lecturing them about safety? What is Sparky doing with the dolphins, I wonder?
I want to imagine that. What do you feel that we ask that he tells them about our problems with the cats, and then it's whether or not they. Also, I feel a little weird like running this character.
Oh yeah.
Maybe he's gone to get help with the cats.
That's fair.
But the dolphins like, say they have something that would be helpful to us, and so he goes to go check that out with them.
I don't know why we think dolphins will be helpful with cats, but they were helpful. So where should we start then? David, do you have any preferences?
I'm thinking we could start with I think this is kind of a classic way to set up a kind of a final episode. Like start with like a flashback to Scallop and Queen, and we establish all the exposition there. And then we can kind of go in media res to all the kind of final scenes that we need to have, with the seagull politics, the way that plays out, resolution, epilogue, and so forth. That just seems like a good classic traditional way to set things up. It feels good to me.
Yeah. Jen, you want to play Queen?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. If we're gonna get this like backstory of Scallop, I would rather like pop to the media race of the cats attacking whatever fortifications we've got set up, and then we could kind of like do the flashbacks in that and make it like the pivotal showdown if we were going to do that. Like put the flashback in the middle of the action scene.
David, you okay with that?
Yeah, that's high drama. I like it.
I believe Scallop is kind of positioned herself on a table in the middle of the rec center. I'm imagining the rec center is kind of mostly a big room. Didn't we establish there's like a skating rink?
Yeah, but I think it's like kind of boarded up and closed.
Right. Is it still kind of a big room that we're in? Or lots of little rooms with the skating rink attached?
I know there's an office and I know there's a concession.
Or are we outside trying to get the cats before they come in? Or are we gonna let them come all the way in and fight them on our own turf?
We could Home Alone it and just have a series of increasingly silly booby traps set up.
That sounds like
that sounds good.
Yeah. So I think Scallop is, I think maybe Davy might be the bait, like to sort of draw them in to that. No.
Yeah, that makes sense because I can run fast.
And,
That's
and
what I do.
I would especially imagine that Davy is especially annoying to cats. So, and maybe Scallop is in there kind of getting some of the traps ready. Like she's going to be there to kind of push things over onto the cats. I'm also imagining that none of these traps are like deadly. They're just things to kind of trap them or scare them. So maybe I've got like a giant bag of, or a small bag of flour that we dragged from the kitchen area to kind of create big puffs of, which is what I imagine cats are afraid of, big puffs of something. So she's kind of standing, getting ready to puff on the cats.
If we can manage it, I think we should definitely try and get like, if they have like one of those industrial size things of syrup and like balance it on top of a door, like the top edge of a door. If we can figure out how to do that as dogs, because a bucket full of syrup is going to make any cat very unhappy.
Yeah, I like that.
For my part, I am going to requisition the loudest vacuum cleaner I can find and get at them with my sonic attack.
Do you think maybe the skating rink might have like a laser light show in it that we could turn on?
That's amazing.
They would absolutely have the big disco ball with laser pointers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's amazing. So maybe we're all like,
oh, and so this is more plausible too. So can the plan be to get the cats into there, turn on that, and then dump syrup all over the floor so they're stuck to the floor? Like, use that as a distraction as we, ocean of syrup onto the cats.
and maybe it's the gulls that fly up and hold on to these little cups of syrup. And then so we've sort of teamed up with the gulls so they can drop the syrup down. So that's all right.
Yeah, I'm just
They have to be super quiet though.
syrup. I'm that works for me. We'll just have to convince the gulls to do that.
Vacuum cleaner, laser light show, syrup to make the cat's paws sticky. Davey, what does it look like when you're drawing the cats into our trap? I was asking Jane, I was asking what Davey does.
Sorry. Ask the question again, because
what does your dog do to draw the cats in? Or is he not the right dog to do that?
I don't know that I even have like.
You think the cats are just coming in? We don't need to lure them into.
Well, I mean, I feel like we need to direct them once we're in, but it would be like a matter of like running up and then running away. I feel like would be right. Like run up, bark a bunch, and run away. I'm afraid I'm not coming up with anything more clever than that.
That's fine. Do you want to play a cat? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're really saying?
Oh, I'm just kind of, are we in any rush to get to the scene? Like, I'm happy to just kind of like stay in idle dreaming for a little while if other people are okay with it. I don't want to like be in the way of the scene if people are excited to get to character stuff.
No.
I will also see, I was just going to say, cats, water, typically don't like. You could do something with activating like the sprinkler system, or otherwise turning on a hose or something like that. Just something is one more trap or line of defense.
So we get them stuck. We draw them in with the lasers. We get them stuck with the syrup, and then we turn on the sprinklers. They will never bother us ever again.
Oh, I think that's doable.
Yeah.
That'll take care of the little ones. I don't know if the cougar would be driven off by that.
Is anybody really invested in playing out the scene? Because kind of the scene that I think would be really interesting is this goes down exactly as we plan. Like Davy runs out, barks, the cats all come in. Davy does his running leap across the syrup slick in the that's in our skating rink. The cats all get stuck. The laser lights go on. The sprinklers come down, and then we're left with like a dramatic face-off between Scallop and the puma.
We keep escalating how dangerous this queen cat is. Scallop's getting nervous. I'm curious.
Like I can spend a token if I need to spend a token to make that happen. Like,
let's do that. But where is Marmalade in all of this? Is she helping us?
I'm trying to think where last we had Marmalade, they had been essentially exiled. Is that safe to say, or shunned in some way from the cat colony?
I think so. Then one note that I have that makes me remember this is Marmalade took Fluff, the baby gull, to the beach house. I think to ingratiate herself to Queen.
Mm-hmm.
But I sense that backfired, and Marmalade came back to the den with us.
I think Marmalade's trying to keep her options open. Mm-hmm. Like she's not really in with the cats properly, but she's not in with us either, and she just like can't choose a side.
But she is a cat, and she definitely holds grudges as a result.
So maybe she comes up to Oatmeal. Oatmeal, what was your role in all of the mayhem? Do you have something specific that you were in charge of?
I think I can burn a token on this too. I think the thief playbook has a move. Yeah, they do. They can make use of human tech to produce a useful effect. So I was probably manning the vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
Like I'm the one who unfurled the cord and drug the cord over in my mouth and plugged it into the wall, and that was probably all my doing, getting weirdly anthropomorphic. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that's what I was doing. And I can burn a token to pay for that.
I'm imagining it's like one of those huge shop vacs, that's on wheels. And what you so we get the cats stuck in the syrup, and the lights go on, and the sprinklers start coming down, and then you're behind this enormous shop vac, pushing it across the floor towards slowly towards the cats, like it's this giant beast coming towards the cats across the
Yeah, no, I am, if this was Princess Bride, the vacuum cleaner would be Andre the Giant, and I would be Inigo with the wheelbarrow pushing it towards the cats.
Yeah.
That would be it.
I literally was just thinking about that. That's perfect.
Really?
Yes. And now where do we think Marmalade is? Is she up on a surface watching the whole thing go down?
Yeah.
She's feeling pretty good. Maybe she's orchestrated this whole thing. Maybe she was the one who told her.
I think she's our real villain, maybe. A real big bad.
She told the cats about our place and how awesome it was. So to convince them to move in. And knew that we would defend it and make them look like fools. Maybe.
And what does Marmalade have to gain from doing that?
I think she's just chaotic evil. I think she just likes watching watching the world burn.
Not a cat person over there.
Not all cats. Some are chaotic neutral. What? So I could play Marmalade and approach Oatmeal and be like, this must feel pretty good. Scare a bunch of cats. The giant, loud vacuum cleaner. Feel pretty powerful, little dog.
I kind of finish. I feel like I'm having to like really exert myself because I'm really a very small dog as far as dogs go. So I'm like really having to exert myself to push this thing along. And I see Marmalade talking, and so I kind of get up on two legs and take my snout and kind of like slap the button down to turn the vacuum cleaner off. And I look up and I say, it's all in a day's work, Marmalade, but I couldn't help but notice you're not helping us at all. Are you just going to sit up there and say things, or are you going to come down here and actually do something about all these cats running around?
Why would I do anything about the cats? It seems like you have it well in hand.
Well, I like to think I do, but if you're not going to be useful, then probably best to stay out of this, if you would.
It's wet and sticky down there. I'm not going down there. Look how unhappy those cats are.
It's a double-edged sword.
I think you're doing a great job.
I think Davy is kind of like running around, like making the herding, like trying to herd cats, literally. But it sounds like our Queenie isn't actually here, right?
Oh, good call.
I think maybe she's just not here.
She hasn't.
And so I think Davy's just gonna bark up at Marmalade. What you could do is tell us where the giant one is. Woof woof.
Yes, that would be very good for us to know. Tell us where the giant one is. This vacuum cleaner's got her name on it.
Well, if I'm being honest with you, I might have divulged the plan to Queen. So she is hanging back until her group here triggers your trap so that she can then come in and make short work of you all while you're all distracted with the dogs. But you didn't hear that from me. She might be hiding outside. I don't know. She might be hiding inside.
I'm not afraid of no cat. Woof. Look at these guys. Look how fast they run. They're so much fun to chase.
Actually, I'll chime in. Yes, they actually kind of are. Like when they get skittish, they're actually very fun. They run almost as fast as I can.
Do you all feel bad for the cats at all? Like, is there a point where you're like, wait, this is a little too much? Or do you feel like they're getting what they deserve?
Are you asking like player to player?
Yeah, I'm just sort of curious. Like, I wonder if our dogs start to feel a little sympathetic. You know how cats get when they're looking really sad and wet and stuff, and they get sort of kitten-like.
No, David just thinks that's really funny. Look how small they are. They're so small underneath all that fluff.
I imagine
the big one is just a whole lot of fluff. If we get her wet, she's gonna be like this big.
Marmalade's like, well, if I were you, I definitely would not look in. Where could Queen be hiding? The kitchen area, or is she outside?
what would be the most dramatic? We could either have her outside doing, like this the weather is picking up and it's very stormy and there's a flash of lightning and you see the silhouette of a cat and it's, it's scary. You could do that, or you could just reenact the scene from Jurassic Park where they're being stalked through the kitchen by the raptors, except it's us with the cat. Like you could do it that way too. So either one is fine, just whatever folks think is most dramatic.
Or, I mean, just Marmalade doesn't know. And we just bring it in at any point that feels right.
Maybe as Marmalade, I can offer to go look for Queen.
Scallop, are you gonna be okay by yourself? I mean, we both saw her. You don't have to handle this alone.
No, I think I need to go talk to her. I think I need to go clear this up. She sees now we can handle ourselves. She sees now, there's plenty of other places for her to. I think I need to go do this. I mean, if you guys were nearby, that would be really good.
We've defeated her troops. We should send a message of parley with Marmalade. Tell her we'll meet her and discuss terms. Her army cannot take our fortress.
Maybe Marmalade returns with a message saying we should meet at the swimming hole, tennis court.
The cat's going to choose somewhere that's advantageous for it. And the swimming hole and the tennis court don't play to their strengths because cats are ambush creatures. So at the edge of the woods makes more sense.
Edge of the woods.
Like maybe there's a single, particularly how about there's 3 trees that have all collapsed so that they're kind of on top of each other and they make kind of they'd be able to get some height there, even though Loblollies tend to not have any low-hanging branches.
Nice. Maybe we call it the tree pyramid.
What?
We call it the tree pyramid.
Ah, yes.
Okay. I'll meet her at the tree pyramid. I guess, are you all going to be okay here with the cats?
I've got my vacuum cleaner.
You're
so I'm okay.
Tiny cats.
I'm very impressed that you can use that vacuum cleaner without scaring yourself, honestly.
Well, I mean, it takes 10 or 15, tries before you get used to it, but it's not that bad. And I'll kind of slap it with my snout and I slap it again. It's not that bad, really. You just once you know it's coming, it's this element of surprise,
right?
That gets them.
Should we do Scallop and Queen, or is there?
I assume it's still raining, right? Is it still raining?
It can be.
Yeah.
Light drizzle, maybe. Not coming down too hard. Oatmeal, do you want to have it out with Marmalade now, or do you want to wait on
that? It might be good just for the sake of variety to cut over to the outdoor scene, and then when appropriate, whether it's at a dramatic cliffhanger or whenever the scene resolves, whatever, then cut back to me and Marmalade.
Okay.
I really want to push the weather because we sort of built up that storm as a big storm. I felt can we do quasi hurricane conditions here? The trees would be around us, and have this be truly kind of a scary atmospheric demon from the beyond sort of moment.
Okay. How do we feel about, just generally speaking, are we working towards defeating Queen? Are we working towards she gets swept away, maybe? Are we working towards humiliating her or chasing her off? Are we working towards reconciling? What do we feel like is the tone that we're trying to set here? I imagine we could get dark if we wanted to.
If you were going to do reconciliation, then I feel like you would need to line that up with Scallop's backstory. Like there was like a wronging or a perceived wronging that happened. And now they're enemies, and reconciliation would be kind of like repairing that relationship almost. I would want there to be a little bit more tension than let's just talk it out like adults. I would want it to be like done while they're like jumping from tree to tree and like, like the, lightning strikes and now there's a fire in the forest or something like that, something very Lion King-y.
I love that. I would say like heading for reconciliation is the most interesting option for me, but like, and this is one of just the hard things about belonging outside belonging is that like, it feels weird to just decide that that's what we're going for. Like I want the randomness. I don't want to know ahead of time.
As you were all talking, it occurred to me that it seems like they live together with this retired couple, and that maybe Queen blames Scallop for the retired couple passing away, and they died way before the devastation, so both of them ended up as strays. And maybe there's something in their past where Queen believes that Scallop is responsible for that.
So
is Queen a domestic cat? Or?
Yeah, that was my question.
I thought Queen was a mountain lion.
Me too.
An actual mountain lion? I thought she was just a big, scary.
No, I was thinking an actual mountain lion.
Yeah, then they definitely did not live together.
But maybe maybe your family were veterinarians, and it was like a rehabilitated cat. Like it had been injured, and like they were like naturalists who had a relationship with the animals in some. Because like when you raise an animal like that in captivity, even if you rescue it, it's never fully wild again. It still relies on people.
Is it so go the other way? Is it that the humans were the bad guys and Scallop was their domestic dog, but they went out into the forest to try and trap the mountain lion because it had been terrorizing them, or maybe stole another cat from them or something like that. So the humans went to the forest with Scallop to try and trap the mountain lion, and it did get trapped, but it only saw Scallop. It blamed Scallop for this getting trapped. Humans are the bad guys.
That honestly makes more sense.
Yeah. I like that. I think that the veterinarian idea is actually very plausible. Like there are lots of veterinarians who kind of who deal with like big cats, through zoos or through, rehabilitation shelters, that kind of a thing. You could go that way with it too.
I guess it just kind of comes down to what you think is most interesting.
Yeah.
It's your character, Dan.
I like the vet idea. Maybe Queen was at a nearby zoo, and they were the vets who came to take care of the animals at the zoo. Something bad happened. Don't know what. So Queen, I don't know what Queen would have ever met Scallop. I think she needs to be in the forest.
I mean, I like the idea that the Queen was relying on the humans in some way and believes that Scallop is responsible for them leaving.
Should we start narrating and see what happens?
I'm thinking I'll throw one more idea out there.
Yeah.
So things that the Queen might have been reliant upon humans for. We've already made mention of her large, almost glowing primal eyes. That's kind of a frame that stands out to me. Perhaps the eyes have. I'm trying to go a way to phrase this. Maybe Queen was at one point like nearly blind, and through some feat of veterinary ophthalmology, she was restored to sight and really had a lot of affection and appreciation for the people who helped her. And now they're gone. And that is a sympathetic motivation that she could use against Scallop. Because if it's a situation where like she's getting trapped by humans, like, well, that's just humans being a jerk. But this is like the humans meant something to me, and it's like a really understandable kind of motivation to be angry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, maybe they would visit her regularly after this surgery, or after treating her, and because of their deaths, they stopped coming, and so Queen sort of resents or assumes that Scallop has something to do with the fact that the humans stopped coming to see her regularly.
Playing, just to like throw some wrinkles in this, I don't know if either of these are good ideas, but if we wanted to do something like, oh my God, I like completely lost my train of thought in the middle of a sentence, as you do. I'm wondering if there is something related to this feat of veterinary medicine that could somehow be related to the human disappearance.
Oh, nice.
There's the possibility of a connection there, because we haven't really explored too much about why the humans disappeared. And then the other thing that I was going to ask is, sometimes when you have a medical miracle, you need upkeep. What if she's deteriorating?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Which would give us a bargaining chip with her. Like if there's medicines or something she needs, it's the deeper reason why she wants this territory. I can stay in idle dreaming all day long and just be like, what if we do this? What if we do this? And then we're like, okay, we're doing that. And then we move on to the next like idle dreaming. And I feel like I'm robbing you guys of your scenes.
Oh, no, not at all.
Scenes scare me so much. I get so nervous in scenes.
No, I also like this part too. Sometimes I'll have sessions with my home group where we're like, we're not gonna play. We're just going to talk about our characters, which I don't know why that's not playing, but for us, that's sort of like,
it's like this strange dynamic. Like, I feel like somehow I'm doing it wrong if I'm not like talking in character, but like, can I be in third person, be in character, please?
We're just trying to tell an interesting story. However that has to happen, that happens. I like this sort of medicine angle, or treatment angle. Because then it does become less about Scallop. Scallop's just assuming it's about her, right? It may not actually be about Scallop. So,
or it could be about, I got another one. It could be about Scallop. Scallop maybe was bringing, because of their connection with the human world, could bring Queen what she needed, even after the humans were gone, or human, like the veterinary scientists left, because they had a stockpile or whatever, but maybe it ran out, or maybe when they, whatever the long walk was, made it impossible, and that was what the schism was. It's like, oh, you're not bringing me my medicine anymore.
Yeah, Scallop. This was after the devastation, after the never-ending war.
Right, like that their schism was after the devastation.
And Scallop just stopped.
Yeah, for whatever reason.
Interesting.
The problem with this method of gameplay, though, is that then you get so many ideas and you're like, which ones are we doing?
All of them. We did all of them. So, did Scallop just accompany the people to bring the stuff, or did she actually legitimately bring it herself? Is that what you were imagining, Jane? That Scallop
Well, I was saying that is a possibility. You know, if your humans died a while ago and could no longer bring the medicine, maybe Scallop brought it in their stead for a while.
She felt obligated to.
And that was their like connection. And
Right.
then when medicine ran out, you know, this whatever they had been left in the house or in the medical kit.
And she probably went to go tell her the medicine ran out. And maybe Queen got angry.
Yeah.
And maybe assumed that Scallop was trying to hide it from her or keep it from her.
Yeah. I like the implication also that Queenie is blind because she hasn't been having her medication. I keep calling her Queenie.
That's totally fine. I like that.
No, that could be part of why her eyes look rather unnatural, is because they have something wrong with them.
Yeah.
Is it possible that we can get more of whatever Queenie needed? I mean, one possible ending to all of this is Scallop and Queen kind of ride off into the sunset because they hear a rumor about another place that might have a stockpile.
That makes sense. Depending on their range, the goals could potentially go get it.
Get some of the seagulls.
Well, I mean, they can fly. They might have a long range of reach, whatever.
A dog, a cat, a seagull, and a dolphin all go on a quest together.
I mean, I can also see it being kind of satisfying to have this end up tragic. Like, if it is a thing of human medicine and the humans are gone, and like that could be an insurmountable difference. There is something kind of like truly sad about that.
Right.
That maybe that isn't a fixable problem.
Right. The other thing that you had said is that maybe there's a connection between these humans and the thing that wiped them all out.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen any human bodies. We don't, and they went on a long walk. They all went somewhere.
Yeah, we don't know if they just disappeared, if they got.
I mean, we don't even know if it's localized or if it's all over.
Just out of curiosity, in the source material for this kind of game, is it ever explained? I just kind of wonder what sort of other justifications writers come up with for like mass disappearance.
No, I mean the one comic that I read that has is pretty close to this. It was a plague, essentially, that affected only humans. And it actually, in this comic book, because it was gross, it was sort of zombie-like. They became kind of raving and killed each other, essentially. So, but,
something just in term game in words hard at the end of the day. I was thinking about in between the games is that this is kind of the first we've really touched on this, except for like a couple of like of the whatever apocalypse happened. And I think that feels like such a huge chunk to break off. Like if you wanted to like almost make it its own playbook where you fill out some things at the beginning, it would we would have more ammunition to bring in, because saying like if we don't know anything, it's almost too much to ask what happened, because then it becomes the only thing we're talking about. It's like there's not enough scaffolding there to bring it into play. And so I think that we've been like completely in dog land, and that's part of why we haven't touched on it. Like like if I knew it was a, you know, AI rebellion, then that would be like, that would give me some scaffolding. Or if it was aliens, or if it was a plague, or if it was like, you know, mass hysteria or whatever. That like our like the map building at the beginning, there might be some like structural need for like what was the apocalypse, or do we just not want to play with what it was?
I personally liked ignoring it. You know what I mean? I kind of liked it's a thing that happened, and now we're just doing day in the life stuff for our dogs.
Okay, yeah.
Just trying to, but I can also see wanting to play it where you've got a little bit more of a hook into.
Yeah, I think you've got kind of an in-between spot right now, because you've got the playbook for the for the mystery itself, or the setting book for the mystery itself. And I think you either like it for me, it's like it either needs to be in or out, you know?
Do we want to
Sorry, I got us completely off track there.
This is the most focused conversation I've had all day. So that's fine. It's all good. Do we want to maybe do the scene in the forest with the thunder and the lightning and the rain and the dog and the cat? Or are we not feeling?
Yeah, I'm totally there for it.
I quite like that.
I guess obviously I will be Scallop. Jane, like you really wanted to do Queen.
I like to be Queen.
I agree. Yeah, I can take the natural world play setting. Yeah.
Can you give us a sense of what this storm and forest look like?
Right. I imagine that the forest would, under the best conditions, be very low visibility, just because of the ways the trees reach up very high and the way their branches overlap and create almost this web-like netting that kind of blots out sunlight. And that's what it would look like under good conditions. It would be very dark and very shady. Now, under the current situation, the sky is not just gray, it's bordering on black. The clouds are so thick and the sun is so far on the other side of the horizon that it's really just this black sheet over everything that is only occasionally illuminated by flashes of lightning or the rare break in clouds. Even that is only just to give way to more rain. And so it is this dripping, wet, almost rainforest-like setting. It's muddy, and there are these like thin streams of water that aren't normally there, but because it's raining so hard, you have like water like streaming down the trails and like coming together and then diverging again. And it's easy ambushing weather because it's just so loud. I imagine that the trees are able to soak up much of the water, so it's not like a constant downpour, but it still always sounds just loud. Like it always sounds like it's raining, even if there's not like water coming down on top of you. And of course, there's the occasional roll of thunder, and you're kind of on this kind of border line between the forest, which is that dark, and it's like that dark and foreboding, and then you have almost like this plain, like Plain, that leads out into the so-called civilized part of Loblolly trails where the buildings are. And I imagine that this kind of borderland is where Scallop is kind of approaching, and there's this moment where Scallop has to kind of make the decision as to whether they're going in or holding back, because it's one of those things where once you go in, it's anyone's guess if you come out in one piece or at all.
That was awesome. Yeah, she knows exactly where these three fallen pines are, and so she kind of takes one more look at the rec center in the middle distance, and then turns towards the forest and she's just a mess. I mean, she's sort of, all of her fur is matted down. She is a little bit cold. She's not really hurrying. She's kind of trudging along, knowing what she's got to, knowing what she's going to have to deal with. And she sees the three pines in the, maybe 30 feet in front of her along the trail. And she stops there and sort of looks around, trying to peer really hard in this driving rain, and trying to look to see if she can see a hint of the cat anywhere, just to get a bead on her before she approaches the meeting area. I assume she cannot see or hear anything because the rain is so loud, and I don't know if she would smell anything, like if the smells would be kind of muffled. Is that what happens to smells?
It'd be like a ton of ozone, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's smelling anything, which I think actually makes both of us kind of at a loss if I'm also saying Queenie is blind.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine Queenie's gotten really good hearing through all of it, so we're both kind of listening out for each other. But
Yeah.
I approach the pines. Do you want to do Queenie before I approach the pines?
Well, I'm imagining she's picked a very high, somewhere high on this this fallen. Scallop. I know your footsteps.
I'm here, Queenie. Why did you want to meet with me?
You know what I want. I want what your people and you have brought to me before.
I told you. There's no more.
You lie. Bring it. There's always more where the humans are concerned. Find it.
I thought so too. But then when the humans disappeared, I realized the humans were the ones who were making everything.
Well, where did they go? Every year they've gone and they've come back and they've gone. This is just another trip away.
This is different. This is different. It was, they had been using this special medication, not just on you, but on other animals too. I saw them do it. And those animals, they changed. I never saw them again. You, I saw again. And you, I wanted to help. And I did for as long as I could.
I cannot accept that. You keep it from me. You keep it for yourself.
I have no need for it. I want to help you. I loved helping you. It made me feel like maybe there was still a little bit of normal in this world. But when it ran out, and when I came and I told you, it broke my heart.
Normal would be the eyes I was born with. And instead I have this despicable man-made thing in my face. A thing that no longer works for me.
Queen, we don't have to fight. You're cats and we dogs. We can live comfortably together. We can look out for each other.
What comfort is there if I cannot see my prey? If I cannot have what I want, I will tear down the whole world. If you cannot find the medicine in your enclave, I will find it for you. Let my subjects in. They will search for me. You know we search better than your kind do on high places and in hidden shelves.
We're pretty good.
Perhaps we can come to some accord.
Well, about that.
Of course, when I discover where you have been hiding it, I will only have more ammunition for my retribution.
What if you never find it? Will you believe me? If you never
There is no future in which I don't find it. I will not accept such a future. I cannot.
Look, come with me. We will look for it together. I will do my best. For days after I brought you that last dose, all I did was wander all around to look for more. And I couldn't find it. And I didn't have the heart to come back to you and tell you.
All right, so here's what I am going to say about this scene.
I like it, yes.
You have no tokens.
That is true.
I think you can't convince her to trust you without some sort of leverage.
Perfect.
That would be, the currency of which is a token. So
I sense she won't be swayed by the fact that we've got all of her cats stuck. Like, does she really care about that?
I thought that was the grounds on which this parley occurred. That we were going to attack, and then we beat back her army, and then she agreed to talk.
I see. Okay.
But if I'm incorrect about that timing,
no, that's good. I like that. So I could say, go ahead, David.
I was going to say I've got two ideas here.
Okay.
One is this might be a little bit early to pull out something as dramatic as this, but there's always the classic option where lightning strikes, flaming tree branch falls onto Queen. She's trapped. She's definitely going to die, and Scallop has to make the decision as to whether to save this person or not. Like, that kind of a thing is some direction you could totally go with it. And if you want to generate some tokens, I'm looking at Scallop's weak moves. And there's some things here about like questioning loyalty to the pack. Like kind of doing stuff that puts the pack in some amount of jeopardy. There might be a line in here where like Queen offers some kind of possibility of reconciliation, but only if like Scallop keeps some kind of secret from the pack, and has to, like, you could have some kind of tension there. But if this is a climactic scene, that might be too much.
Well, what if the agreement is that Scallop goes back and needs to convince the rest of the pack to let the cats do a thorough inventory of not just the den, but like all of the areas in all the houses, all the, their personal spaces. On behalf, Queenie wants the cats to go looking for the medication, and she wants them to, but the cat, that might make Scallop look like a traitor because they're allowing the cats into the territory to do a thorough, these are our defenses, these are what we have, and would create some conflict between Scallop and the other members of the den, that we're going to allow the cats in and allow them to roam about and find this thing, even after they said they were attacking. I don't know if that came out making any sense at all.
It did. I have a third idea.
Okay.
So David, that was good to look at the moves. One of my weak moves is retreat from the pack mates when they need you most. Maybe we get word, maybe through Marmalade or one of the gulls, that the cats have turned things around at the den. And so now they've turned the tables, and now the dogs are in great peril. And maybe it's the gull who's saying, Scallop, you need to come back to help the dogs. And instead, I stay there and help Queenie, or I stay there and agree to go with Queenie to kind of find this medication that she needs.
I could totally play the goal in that scene, and I think that would be a good one.
There's this sequence in Watership Down where the lightning strikes and the gull comes right out of the flash of light. And it's very much like, and all the rabbits think that the lightning has turned into a bird. And I'm kind of imagining like the flash of lightning, and you are just kind of flying down, you know, and the rain is coming down all across your back.
Right. Okay, so it looks like Snowball is both Fluff's mom and the ambassador goal.
Sounds like
Okay. I forget what her personality is exactly. I think that she is rather stern, if I recall correctly, but I don't really know beyond that.
Stern sounds right. Watership Down. That movie came out a long time ago.
That's my favorite movie. It was, I like to torment my friends with it as a kid.
I think I saw that. I must have seen it when it first came out. I was way too young. And I remember.
Oh, it can be traumatizing. It can.
Well, in '78, I was 6. So if my parents let me
That's about how old I was when I started watching it, 5 or 6. And like people would have sleepovers and then they would never talk to me again.
Right. Yeah. I remember that, like, I haven't watched it since. And I remember the thunderclaps. Like, I remember that from that. And I've not wanted to watch it.
Have you seen this movie, David?
I have not, which is strange. I tend to like dark animated films, but I've never seen Watership Down. I just know that it is surprisingly graphic for an animated film about rabbits, basically.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, there's rabbits. It gets real experimental and interesting too. It's like it's one of the artistic touch points of my, you know.
If only my parents had IMDb in the 1970s, they would have been like, huh, maybe we shouldn't let him watch this movie.
My parents rented it from the public library, and it was my favorite, and they refused to buy it for me, so we would rent it over and over and over again, and I would watch the little sequence at the beginning. It was like a 5-minute like short at the beginning. That's the history of Ella Farrar. And I would watch it over and over and over again, and I single-handedly wore out the VHS and snapped the tape. Like we had to return it like dead VHS to the library.
All right, sorry, I needed to have that walk down memory lane. Is the goal?
So,
the goal?
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine that there is this this flash of lightning, and then you hear this rustling, you know, through the trees, and you hear this Scallop, like this yelling, Scallop, and it's like this shrieking, and you know, you can kind of barely see up in the trees this shadowy kind of like shade form that is frantically flapping through the trees. It's, you know, I mean, the ambassador goal Snowball is by no means used to flying around trees. This is new territory for her.
And I think when you appear, Queenie actually shrinks back. Like this is unexpected and disorienting, and I can't, because of the way the trees and the rain are, I can't place you, and so I'm like clearly looking around trying to figure out where this horrible sound is coming from, and I'm like shrinking back. You know, quiet pause, receding.
Snowball, is that you? Why are you coming out in this weather?
She's like perched, like huddled and shivering, like on some lopsided tree branch, and you know, the tree is starting to kind of shift around a little bit more than it should because the soil is starting to give way, and it's getting kind of like mudslide territory almost. And she, looking down at you with frantic eyes, says, "You've got to come back, Scallop. There's a big problem back at the rec center. I'm thinking that everything has gone completely lopsided and backwards, and the cats they're back, Scallop. You have to come back. You're the only way that you're gonna save them."
Wait. We had this under control. We lured them into the rink. We disoriented them with the lasers. We dumped the syrup so they got stuck. Turned on the sprinklers. And then Oatmeal scared them with the vacuum. Like, that was a multi-pronged attack. What could have gone wrong?
I don't know. I just I came back to see how things were going, and I don't know if they they did some kind of retaliation or what, but there's no fight anymore, Scallop. They've got them all cornered, and they took Droopy hostage.
Not Droopy.
They took Droopy hostage, Scallop, and I think that it's only a matter of time before they start taking more prisoners. You've got to come back soon. They really need you.
And I think Queenie slinks forward and says, and so I shall have what I want in the end. Go back to your friends, show your true colors, but I shall have what I desire, regardless of what you do.
So did we decide that Scallop is going to make her weak move and abandon the pack when they need me most and go with Queenie to go find some medicine?
I mean, I think that you can do whatever you want. It's kind of what the setup we had, but you know, when you're actually in the scene, you should do whatever you think.
Here's what I say. Queenie, the dogs will be fine. Your cats are scary, but let's be honest, harmless. I'm here for you. I made a mistake. I walked away from you and I shouldn't have. What do you need? What can I do for you?
And kind of the image we have is, you know, the thunder and the lightning and the shadowy form of Queenie standing high up on this thing, like very still for kind of this long beat. And you don't know if she is gonna like be angry or if, but then like it's almost like she goes weak and she like sits down and she says, I only want my eyes back. You will help me, truly. You would forego your species to help me. There's no, how can I turn that down? That is true friendship.
Queenie, you and I have been friends. We have had a connection for a long time. I trust the dogs to be okay. I owe it to you to help you find your eyes.
All right, and then she pads, there's like a, you know, one long log that she can pick her way slowly down, and she comes to you and cat headbutts you.
He's a cougar though, right? So it's like,
yeah, I mean the cat's taller than you are, but
Snowball will kind of edge forward with her little flappy webbed gull feet on the branch and peer down at you with desperation in her eyes, if you don't mind me taking it in that direction.
yeah.
Water is kind of running down her beak and dripping off like tears. And she says, Scallop, what about my hatchling?
Scallop, friend, may I eat the bird?
Whoa. Queenie, if we're gonna do this, I think what we should do is go back and tell them that they are obligated to live in harmony, to work together, preferably avoid eating each other.
And she sticks back on her haunches and says, you never were any fun. Flicks her tail. Well, lead the way.
Snowball, I'm confident Fluff is safe. We recovered her from being captured by Marmalade. Oh yeah, Marmalade's the real enemy here. We recovered her. We brought her back to the den. I'm confident Oatmeal has her safely ensconced with Volpe. I hope Volpe doesn't eat her. I believe the fox is protecting her. That didn't come out quite right, but you know what I mean.
You better know what you're doing here, Scallop. And she turns around and takes off into the storm again.
And I'm just imagining Scallop and Queenie kind of walking like just slowly across the yard back to the den, like just this big beast, and the little dog.
Nice. Have we concluded? Are we at the end of our story, or is there something else that we need to wrap up here? Or is there more that we want to say about the reconciliation at the den?
If Marmalade's the actual bad guy, should we have a scene in which Marmalade is defeated?
Yeah, I want that scene. Because I kind of want to play Queenie as she helps you guys plot how to take out Marmalade. Because I want to know how Marmalade wronged Queenie now.
Maybe Marmalade is still trying to play both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And Marmalade does not.
Marmalade is the one that told Queenie that they had medicines. That Scallop was holding back on the medicines.
Nice. That is great. Yeah.
I do want to have this scene. I need to go pee.
Oh, let's do it. It's 9:20. Should we reconvene at 9:25? Does that sound all right? Cool. I'll see you in 5.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't offer a break earlier. We were on a roll.
I also have like this, I get nervous and I overhydrate when I am nervous. And then it's like constant. It's a cycle.
I hear you. What were we about to do?
Marmalade?
Yeah. Marmalade is playing both sides. Yes.
Yeah, so there's a scene in which Queenie comes, she calls off her cats, they sit, there's a talk, and through the talk it is discovered that I feel like maybe I would like a moment with Queenie and Oatmeal, because I did scare the poop out of you the other day. And so maybe like I'm curious what Oatmeal's reaction is when this enormous puma. Well, like, what is you've been cornered. Where have they cornered you to?
I don't think they've successfully taken me hostage yet. I feel like I'm backed into a corner, and I am stuck on top of the vacuum cleaner. And there's like cats surrounding me, and every time they get a little bit close, I like point the hose at them, and I slap the button with my back paw, and it goes vroom, and they scatter back a little bit, and I'm like, don't come any closer, I'll stick it on you, and they're like, it's a standoff.
I'm just imagining how horrified any cat would be if they like actually came in contact with the nozzle, and like, because it would do what it does to like your shirt if you get it to your shirt.
It's just like a little suction on your fur, but it's probably very uncomfortable.
I do love to see cats taken down a peg. They deserve it. They all think they're so dignified. And then, of course, you're very focused on that. And Queenie walks up behind and locks eyes with you. And there's a long moment where, like, you're not sure, like, where she hasn't called off the cats, or she's just smirking. And she says, "To me, ladies." And they all like, And they all very obediently come and they sit and they make like this, like, it's like almost a formation beside her. They like very orderly. Hello, little one. How are you?
Don't come any closer, you beast. I fended off legions of your kind with my weapon here. And I kind of like position myself so that I'm like almost able to tap the button to turn it on, but my paw is obviously trembling, and I clearly have a lot of doubt in the ability of even this vacuum cleaner to fend off this great mountain lion.
And of course, I can't actually see you. I can only hear you. And so Queenie says, I can hear that you've mastered some of the old human technology. Very impressive. Perhaps Marmalade was not wrong to say that you were the brains of the operation. I suppose I owe you an apology for frightening you so the other day. You will find me more positively disposed now. So do call off your machine, please.
I imagine there's like a just a zoomed in shot of like this gnarly little dog paw, like just like trembling as it's about to like tap a button. and with this trembling trepidation, I bring my back leg in line with the rest of my feet, and my weird bulbous eyes kind of squint. And there's like a zoom in on just the eye squinting, but it's a dog, so it's ridiculous looking. And I'm like, all right, queen of the cats, what do you want with me?
Simply to talk. If you are, as they say, the wisest of your canine friends, you may approach the least. You may be approaching in intellect the least of my young ladies. Come, parley with me. I believe somewhere in this compound is something that I desire. And then she stands up, walks away from you, butt in the air. Like, I am not afraid of you. I don't need to look at you anymore. And she goes and she finds the best upholstered chair that you guys have left and starts to, put claw marks in it. And all of the cats follow her obediently in a straight line, sashaying like this as they go.
I wonder if Marmalade approaches Queen now and says, what arrangement have you come to with the dogs? You know they will betray you.
I believe this whole misunderstanding is your fault, Marmalade. You're brave indeed to show your face here.
What misunderstanding, Your Highness? I'm merely conveying all the information that I have at my disposal.
You led me to believe Scallop was holding back medicines, back the humans, the medicine the humans kept.
She did. Did she not stop coming to see you with the medicine?
I was a fool to trust you over my dear friend. But her plea has won over my heart. Perhaps it will be borne out that you were correct. But for now, I will take the side of old friendship over your duplicitous ways. Did you join us in the fight against the dogs? No. And I think that, more than anything, speaks of your true colors.
You will betray them as well. Don't listen to her, dogs. She's all talks all nice, but at some point, she will claw you in the back, just as she does all animals. Dogs, have I not been faithful to you? Have I not also given you important information about the cat's whereabouts? Oatmeal, you know, although we have had our fun, although we've had our banter, at the end of the day, I am loyal to the dogs.
I think I'm thinking through this out loud here to think about how Oatmeal would respond, because like Oatmeal really can't stand against Queenie. She's too big and scary. So
just as like, if it reassures Oatmeal at all, what if Queenie is on the chair next to Queenie is Scallop, so that there's like that physical, like Scallop is a member of your pack has accepted. Is that okay with you, Dan?
Yeah. And I'm actually thinking, I wonder if Oatmeal is just supported by the fact that Queen talked back to Marmalade. No one ever talks back to Marmalade, and sort of put her in her place. So now you are, and hearing Queen express this alliance with the dogs maybe is giving you newfound.
If you want to go that way, because you could also, if you want to reject Oatmeal at this point, I mean, you're kind of the de facto leader of the dog pack. And if you said Oatmeal was out, Davy would probably follow you, at least.
Oh, meaning Oatmeal.
Or at least be torn,
If Scallop is right there, I think I think Oatmeal would actually defer a little bit, because he's a clever little guy and he's fiercely independent, but he's not really a leader. So I feel like Oatmeal would kind of like look to Scallop and say, Scallop, what did you and that big cat talk about?
Oatmeal, I know this may be hard to hear, but Queen and I have actually known each other for a long, long time. And I owe her and I owe her a debt. And I couldn't come to help you when you all most needed it. Because I, like any good dog, believe I need to pay my debts. And so you have my deepest apologies, my most sincere apologies. But I stand here now with Queen in the hope that our groups can get along and that I can help Queen in her quest to reclaim her sight.
Then I will reply, then this is kind of a moment of me being a little bit willfully dumb. Then you mean to say that Marmalade's not trustworthy? and I point my nose and I'm looking straight down my snout, right at Marmalade, and I say, "You've been lying to me all this time. You never had my best interest at heart, did you?"
What's the line? Marmalade looks out for one cat, and that's Marmalade. And or does she she's still trying to work both sides?
I think Marmalade is smart enough to look back from Oatmeal to Queenie to Oatmeal to Queenie.
She knows
and
her time is
just
up.
bolt.
She knows her time is up, so she's like,
Yeah.
Well, as you form this new alliance, I hope you remember Marmalade, the cat who brought you all together. And with that, I bid you adieu. She sort of starts to walk slowly, and then a little bit faster, and then a little bit faster, and then a little bit then bolts out.
I bolt after her like I'm yapping and barking and chasing the whole way.
Queenie gives a sort of laugh.
Can Marmalade do like a running leap out a window, not through a window, but just like out like a cracked window?
Yeah.
But she has to like leap over the sleeping lump that is Droopy, and he like stirs a little bit and wasn't even aware that he was ever captured. He was just like asleep the whole time.
How did I end up over here? I guess I'll go back to sleep now. Yeah, I love it.
And if that's the end of the conflict, maybe as Marmalade bolts out the window, you see, this great sort of landscape that she's running into, like the beach on one side and the forest in the back and kind of these hills. And maybe in the very distant horizon, you can see the clouds are getting to break, and a little bit of that post-thunderstorm sunshine is beginning
nice.
to filter through.
I want kind of a hint. Or no, I've got something for an epilogue later. I might as well just throw it out there now since I'm thinking it. But I think in the epilogue, Marmalade needs to, a very bedraggled Marmalade needs to come out from the woods onto the beach, and in a very wide shot so we can't hear what's going on, she needs to be having a conversation with a dolphin.
Nice. Is there anything else we want to do in the den? Or are we leaving that for whatever sequel might emerge?
Another little epilogue-y bit that I'd like. I think Queenie turns to dogs and says, I think one bit of truth among all the lies Marmalade spoke of is that there are quite a few mice in this den. Would you like some help cleaning them out? Perhaps our species need not be enemies. Some sort of accord there. Alliance. We'll eat your mice.
I love it.
I like that.
I'm also imagining maybe part of our epilogue is that Queen and Scallop, you kind of see them walking together side by side. And maybe Queen's got a tail on Scallop, so Scallop can lead her. And as the camera pulls back, you see they're in a city. They've walked a long way to a city because they heard a rumor that this is where the medicine is manufactured.
That's cool.
They've gone as a pair to go explore this city, and it's kind of a mess. Like maybe you get the sense that the devastation wasn't simply the humans were gone, but that something bad happened. So there's a lot of rubble. There's a lot of cars that were sort of left, open and whatever. It's just kind of a typical post-apocalyptic scene with now these two animals.
That's really cool. I love that. Any little epilogue bits for Oatmeal?
I think that it would be kind of a combination of two things. One would be a scene where Oatmeal meets with Snowball and says, I think this belongs to you. And I snatch up Fluff on my nose and kind of gently edge the little chick towards Snowball. And I don't know how Snowball would respond, but they'll exchange some words. And, it's a little bit of a bittersweet departure as Fluff goes off with her real mom. And I imagine as they kind of, here's what will happen. They actually fly off together back towards the beach. By this point, though, I imagine that it is night. and the thunderstorm clouds have long since dissipated, and you have this completely clear sky. Once all the clouds are rained out, it is just absolutely pristine, clear blue sky. And you can see the reflection of a full moon set against this backdrop of stars on the waves. And Oatmeal, upon seeing Fluff and Snowball fly off kind of into the moon, he will sigh with kind of a bittersweet sort of happiness, trot back over to a little bit of bedding that he has in the corner, and he will kind of curl up in a sleepy little ball with his own little watch nestled against his chin, and he looks up at the moon and falls asleep that way.
Nice.
And that'll be it for him.
Someday, Fluff will come back to you, and he will bring a ring, and it will have a moonstone in it. When you go to the city with Scallop and Queenie, he will appear for our second season and gift you this thing at the beginning of the season. Because apparently I'm on to season 2 now.
Does Davey have a epilogue?
No. Davey's just excited.
He's just
Sorry, I lost interest. I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. That's quite all right. I really love that. I really love how that all came together.
Thank you for letting me switch to the character with no playbook in the middle of that session.
I mean, it does make me wonder if I need to get that cat playbook together before we play again.
I mean, I wrote a bunch of moves down for it.
Yeah, you did.
They're in there. I'm also just a cat person.
I get it.
Like, I actively dislike dogs. I'm sorry.
Do you
I
really?
played a pure dog game actively disliking dogs.
It's rare for me to meet someone who actively dislikes them. What is it that you don't like about dogs? Besides everything.
They're too needy.
Yeah, that is true.
And they're like excitable, and they take.
Yeah, that's all fair. But they give so much.
I like other people's dogs.
Yeah, I like other people's dogs sometimes. As long as they don't jump and they're attractive and they don't lick me and they don't bark at me and they don't smell bad. And there's a lot of problems.
So demanding. Yeah.
I do think the cat playbook should be a thing, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's part of the trope. Like, there's always the outside. It would have been hard to, well, I guess we would have started with a cat and we wouldn't have wanted to necessarily made them a traitor. It was fun to turn Marmalade into kind of the sinister.
Yeah, I loved that turned out to be the big bad.
Yeah, that was so cool. Do you all have any other feedback or thoughts for me? I've got this already on the calendar for December. I would love to play with you guys again. So if you have any interest and availability, please do sign up. And by then, I think November I'll be working on this, so I'll kind of make a lot of updates. And I'm just curious, do you have any other thoughts or feedback, anything that you feel like the game needed some more support for us as players that wasn't there?
I've got little stuff, if you're just taking notes. On the Thief playbook, I would have liked to have some weak moves that aren't related to stealing. And it's not because I have a problem with stealing, otherwise I wouldn't have done the playbook. It's just because I don't always have an opportunity to steal stuff in every single scene. And so having something that lets me yeah, like I'm looking at this here, and compared with Scallop has 1, 2, 3, 4. Scallop has 3 or 4 moves, like weak moves, that are like social in nature, like express your gratitude, refuse to reconcile, reveal that you know something. Oh, well, without sharing it with the pack, I guess that's not really social. Retreat from pack mates when they need you the most, arguably social. The only social weak move that the thief has, I think, is admit wrongdoing and ask forgiveness. So, I mean, I can't speak for any of the other playbooks, but that's just one thing from the thief that I think would be handy.
Great feedback.
And the only other thing that I can think of is, and this just might be our group, but there are a lot of kind of moves that are kind of there to up like the tension within the pack, you know, like to create disagreements among PCs and that kind of a thing. We never particularly used them, and I'm not saying that that they shouldn't be in there or that we should have used them, but I just, you know, I'm just not sure how those would really play, or I guess I just don't have a lot of really tips or feedback, but like, I'm looking at the settings here. There was one thing that was like, you have to do something deliberately to up tension within the pack.
Right.
Yeah, I wonder if just having a setting book that was pack dynamics that you could like pick up. Like you have the den but like if you could have someone in a GM role like accuse a pack member, have one pack member accuse another, or something like that, to put those moves in a place so that there was like fuel for PC NPC triangles in one of the setting books. It was like pack based.
I really like that. I want to share something with you all, if that is okay with you. This is a new game out called Wander Home. I don't know if you
Oh, I've heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah. I'm curious about it.
So J Dragon designed the game. It is largely grounded in belonging outside belonging, but there's some interesting twists to it. I honestly don't know what really any of this stuff does mechanically, but what's interesting to me is there's the strong moves, get a token when you, or I'm sorry, those are the weak moves, and then strong moves are spend a token when you. These weak and strong moves are the same on every playbook, which I found really interesting, and I think would work well here as a framework, because as dogs, they're sort of limited, not limited, but there's kind of a standard set of things that we would all do. There are some variations that are based on the playbook, so some things you can always do. This game is very, very grounded in the. Kind of day in the life. So a lot of these are not. There's not high stakes here. Notice the time of day, for example. But it's these moves here that kind of set the playbook apart. So I kind of might go in this direction, where a lot of the moves are common from playbook to playbook, but there are a few things that distinguish that playbook. And I'm curious, based on how do you react to them?
Have you read, there was a relatively early PBTA hack called The Warren?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where I feel like that's kind of similar in that you have like rabbits are all kind of the same, except you can do like these one or two other things. Yeah, I think that's actually really kind of nice. And like having like, also I love lists. I love more lists, especially as a person who's not super familiar with dogs. Like I want more lists of things to choose from. My favorite game is, my favorite toy is, you know.
So like, things in defining the character.
Yeah.
Great.
And maybe like, even if there was like a token mechanic to like bring in one of those things, like if you talk about your human, if you talk about your favorite toy, if you engage in your favorite game, that's rewarded in some way. I don't know, just throwing ideas out there. But I like the idea that everyone kind of has the same strong and weak moves, that like. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up sort of, there were a lot of things that we all kind of wanted to do that sort of amounted to, opening ourselves up to risk or to weakness or vulnerability and things that we wanted to do that were strong. And I think just kind of like having a simple way of resolving that stuff so we're not trying to find the right move. My assumption here is that the moves in the playbooks are really more meant to kind of help us inspire the action. Like,
yeah, because by the end we weren't really like, the only time a token really came up in this last one was like, well, I don't know whether to have Queenie say yes to you, but you have 0 tokens.
Right.
So I get to say no.
Yeah, I think I spent a token to use the vacuum, but that was the extent of it.
You know what would be kind of an interesting mechanical thing, and I don't know if it's a good mechanical thing or not, but a complaint I've heard about PBT or belonging outside belonging is that there's this impetus to like do a bunch of weak moves early on and stock up. What if tokens were just binary? You just did or didn't have it, and you couldn't stockpile multiple. So like you kind of had like, it would change the rhythm, because then you would be like making a strong move, making a weak move, making a strong move, making a weak move.
So you can only
ever have one.
You can only ever have one.
It's like, just, I don't know what that would do to the game, but
I think I'd be interested to see how that works, actually, because I've heard that too, and I always scratch my head when I hear that, because it's like, why are you metagaming something as like story gamey as belonging outside of belonging? That's just such a strange concept to me. Like, you got to get the weak moves in early so you can do more stuff later. That's just, I don't know. I mean, maybe there are people who like would do that, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I just like, I was just really excited to look at your sheet and see that it had 0 tokens and have a good excuse to say no.
Right.
Like, and so that's like the tension that I would be looking for, is that like, okay, things went your way last time, now they aren't going your way, but do you ever need to get like up to 6 tokens to like, because I think that there was a point in the first game where like I had like 4 tokens and I was like,
yeah, the first time I ran this game, Puckett said whenever he plays belonging outside belonging, he ends up with so many tokens because the weak moves are far more interesting to do, right? So it's always sort of like, well, I'd rather do the weak move because that kind of creates some tension or moves things along, or so it didn't sound so much like he was trying to game it so much as
it just sort of happened.
The weak moves are kind of fun. So
yeah, I mean, and theoretically, like I could have been swimming in tokens if I had taken one every time I was like, I'm the best swimmer.
Right.
I'm the best jumper, because theoretically that's boasting about my abilities.
When
so like, whether or not that's a lot, like that was just a character trait though.
One of the things I had added in this version is at the very bottom of the character playbooks is other dogs gain a token when they blah blah blah, and I'm curious if you found that to be helpful when interacting with the other characters. If you remember,
I kind of forgot about it, but that's for me way more interesting than anything on the weak moves list. Like, just in theory, like I would say in terms of just character keeper, move that up higher on the character keeper so it's easier to see. Or put it in between. I would put it, because I think that's a huge and wonderful driver of play, put it in between the strong and the weak moves so that it's super visible, because I completely forgot it was there.
I think I used it a couple times with Sparky. I think one of his lures, I think they're sometimes called, is you get a token whenever you ask him for advice. And I think I did that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And I will say during this session, I was looking at Scallop's lures. I think it was because I thought that Scallop had a ask for advice lure, and I was going to ask Scallop for advice whenever it was the showdown between the two of us, Queenie and Marmalade. But there was nothing there, so I just instead just role played it and said, what did you guys talk about? But yeah, I like the lures a lot, and I've been trying to use them.
Yeah, I'm sorry I missed them.
I had so much fun. You don't have to apologize for a thing. And then the other thing that came up a lot just in our meta game talk over the last several sessions was the fact that this is GM-less, and I feel like Belonging Outside Belonging needs to work extra hard to help the people at the table kind of play the foil for the characters that are currently being, focused on at the moment. I guess, was there anything else that we did or that you wanted to see to kind of help that side of things? One of the things that we had talked about is, even in this session, was having some questions at the outset, more questions at the outset to kind of define the setting. I guess, are there other things that you were needing or wanting to rely on that just weren't there?
I'm not saying this as a suggestion, more throwing out ideas, and maybe you can kind of divine what I'm kind of looking for, because I don't know myself. I wonder if there's a way to, when you're playing a setting or an NPC, to get some tokens or get some kind of incentive to complicate matters. It's just something that comes to mind, because and maybe this is just my own lack of familiarity with the settings, but it was hard for me to be like, I have moves when I'm playing the natural world. I felt like I was just describing the natural world, and I had the option to throw in like weather effects and things like that, but like I don't know, I just was kind of curious, like I wonder if there's a way to like generate tokens or to have some kind of like spending economy that you can do with the settings, or if that just complicates it and adds a mechanic that's not necessary. I don't know.
And what you're trying to get at there is create an impetus for you to use moves that raise the stakes for the player.
Yeah, I think so, because I think that I see a lot of how should I put it? I see their point when people say the weak moves are more interesting than the strong moves, because the weak moves raise the stakes and drive play forward, and the strong moves just resolve it. And resolution is not nearly as interesting as rising action.
Right.
So, to the extent that there can be some kind of mechanism, or just like writing things a certain way, or reorganizing what category certain moves fall under, whether they're strong or weak or what have you, just finding ways to like incentivize adding complication. I mean, you already do that with the weak moves. I'm going in circles at this point.
Yeah, but I think the challenge with GM-less games or GM-full games is I think there's a hesitation to raise the stakes. It's hard to do, number one. Like, I just feel like it's, as a GM, it's one of the hardest parts of the job, is to sort of like, well, what can I do to like really create some tension here? But also, when none of you are sort of, no one at the table is designated as the person whose job it is to raise the stakes, then everyone feels a little tentative about it. I could not play a Belonging Outside Belonging game with my home group, because we are just not confrontational in our gameplay. And so I just don't think it would be even remotely fun for the home group that I play with, because everyone would be way too tentative about raising the stakes, and even tentative about having that conversation, which I felt we were able to have. So.
I want to bring a Belonging Outside Belonging game in front of my home group, but as I've said a bunch of times, this is my first one, and I'm like, I miss my dice. And that raising of stakes is part of why I miss the dice. And so I've been thinking about kind of a universal hack for a Belonging Outside Belonging game, where you can whenever you can make a strong move at any point. You get tokens for weak moves. You make a strong move at any point, but if you don't spend any tokens, you make it a disadvantage. You roll 2d6. And if you miss, whoever's got the setting playbooks makes a hard move. And on a partial, it's like you get what you want and there's a move, and then or a full success. And then, one token would be rolling straight and 2 tokens would be rolling with advantage.
Are you familiar with Apocalypse Keys? Have you seen that?
That one I'm vaguely aware of, but I've been curious about it, but I haven't actually watched any actual plays of it.
I'm playing in it next month. What's super cool about what Jamie did here is when you so you play monsters that are sort of like Hellboy style monsters, and you'll gain darkness, and those are tokens. And then when you make a move, you spend tokens. So you can spend as much up 0 to 3 darkness tokens. So there's never really a minus on any of these moves. So she's actually changed, or excuse me, they have actually changed the structure here.
Right. They've upped the numbers by 1 to.
Right. And what can happen is you can overdo it. So, so when you hit this 11 plus, you can't hold yourself back.
Interesting.
You barely have this creature under control, so it's like you're kind of overshooting. And
is this a GM full game, or is this a more traditional?
It's a GM game. Yeah.
Okay.
But I really like that, and I think it sort of suits dogs pretty well, because dogs are always, as you point out, doing things. Like it's just like, it's not enough to just sit and beg for food. It's like, I've got to paw you and get in your way, and like they're always overdoing it. So cool. Friends, this was really fun. Do you have any other thoughts or feedback for me before we wrap things up?
I'll be thinking about that idea of spending multiple tokens. That's an interesting way to deal with the problem of having excessive tokens, is being able to spend 2 or 3 at a time in order to do like a strong move that resolves something, but also introduces something at the same time. I don't know if it's feedback really, but that'll be something I'm thinking about. That's interesting.
It was fun to listen. I listened to a little bit of Brinkwood Refuge, where people were like, they had things to buy. You could buy things for your refuge with your tokens. And I was like, oh, that's fun.
Is that another BOB game?
Yeah, this is another jammy game.
Okay.
Where each player gets kind of like the healer gets the healing tent, but then all the players can pool at the end of each session, can pool their tokens together, and you can send like 10 or 15, and you like build a thing in your town. And then you have like,
So we could do it with like den upgrades for the dogs.
Oh, that'd be sweet. That would be really good.
Yeah, like the one that they in the one game that I listened to, they got a bathhouse for the healing tent, and then they had a spa, and it had like its own moves associated with it. It was just like, yes, I want to build a bathhouse in my town. It was just kind of like an interesting thing to work towards, as a group. And then that you felt like you were building out your place, and then that would be a reason to go back to the map, which is always like, I always want to go back to the maps and draw new things on the maps.
Right. How is it that I don't have a copy of that game? Well, that was great. Friends, again, thanks so much. You've been super generous with your time and your feedback, and I'm so grateful. Again,
I had a wonderful time, even with not liking dogs.
Okay. I hoped maybe this would move you a little bit, but
nope. Just found a way to play the cat.
I get it. One day, maybe you'll get to meet my beagle, and then you'll love dogs. But she's a very lovable dog. Or maybe one day I'll get a new cat, and that will change too. So thanks, y'all. And again, I'm running it in December. So if you have time and interest, please do join up. It was really fun to play with you both. So
Thank you so much for hosting it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.